definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, according to Albert Einstein. And that's the path we've taken in regards to STEM education: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We overwhelmingly continue to hire and graduate individuals from represented groups with the same demographic background. Although we made some headway in the field, it's still a field that's dominated by white males. For our underrepresented students, the problem starts with a lack of exposure to STEM opportunities, continues on with an underpreparation for college-level STEM courses, and then ends with a sense of isolation within the field. Our system provides some students with limited laboratory supplies, out-of-date computers, uninspiring curriculum and teaching, and then tracks them into courses that won't prepare them for the field ahead. Our underrepresented students experience an educational deficit in comparison to their privileged counterparts. So I had a college friend named James. James had a wonderful understanding of computers. He taught me about Napster, he taught me how to write computer code, and he had a love and excitement for computers that he planned to one day use to change the world. Unfortunately, James dropped out of college. He attended a high school that had limited AP and dual enrollment courses. He often recounted that the only experiments that he performed were reading through his textbook. I, on the other hand, attended an elementary school that allowed me to explore my love for mathematics beyond the pace of the curriculum. In middle school, I had a science teacher that had a Ph.D. in his field of studies and a full lab where we often conducted experiments like measuring the calories in a peanut based off of the change of temperature it produced in a half cup of water. In high school, I took AP Calculus, Physics, and Biology. Not all in the same year. James was a first-generation college student from a socioeconomically challenged background. College was a shock to him. His first semester was his first time visiting a university and his first time experiencing that level of rigor. He had no clue what to expect, what was expected of him, how to study, or even why he was taking these classes. And when the university asked him to leave, he was devastated. I, on the other hand, had the opportunity to visit our university 3 times before enrolling for classes. Our vice principal took me on a college tour. My father, a fellow alum, often told me stories of his college days from as early as I could remember. I had a well-tread path to follow. And if students make it through their STEM degrees that we've underprepared them for in this strange environment, they then go on to not be hired by the tech companies, engineering firms, and research labs. We as a society continue to underfund, undereducate, underprepare, and alienate our underrepresented students. And unfortunately, this disproportionately includes women, students of color, first-generation students, and socioeconomically challenged students. It's insanity that we ask our students to perform the same way as those who had more opportunities to prepare for the path ahead, without the support needed to make up the educational deficit. Okay, so now that I've depressed you, how do we solve this problem? The answer lies in our approach to team science. Team science is the future and the core of scientific advancement. It's a cross-section of disciplines working together to maximize the efficiency and the effectiveness of their research. It thrives from having a diversity of thought from various perspectives working together to solve a problem. But just imagine if we added an extra layer to that, where we include individuals from different cultures, socioeconomic backgrounds, as well as individuals from different levels of preparation. This increase in variation of perspective will result in an increase in the diversity of ideas and ultimately a better product. To do this, we need to encourage our students that we need them. Their perspective is needed. Their experiences have value. We need to let them know that I know the potential that lies within all of them, the desire they have to change the world, the unrealized capabilities that often go untapped within inside them. It's insanity that we continue to hire and graduate the same type of students with the same training and the same background and experiences and expecting different results. But it starts at the top with really thinking about who we hire on a team to ensure that all the STEM professionals included have a diverse perspective, and then letting each level know how they're needed. STEM professionals need to let college students know about the culture shock they will experience because we need them in the field. College students need to let high school students know about the level of rigor they will encounter because we need more STEM graduates. High school students need to let middle school students know that they need to start with their eyes focused on the prize because we need their fresh perspective. When we open our minds to the value that lies within our students, we get individuals like Sheldon. Sheldon was the only African American in his biomedical science program at the time, and he struggled through his degree, but he went on and graduated and got his Ph.D. And he now leads a research team that is developing a vaccine that will one day eradicate Ebola. We must convey the message to our students that we know your perspective is different from what you see around you, but it's okay, because it matters. We need your perspective to survive. Just imagine what it can do. Thank you.
Hi, I just want to thank you as well for giving us this time today. I'm the recording secretary for the youth club.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's my senior year, so this is my last year. So I'm excited to do this. Thank you.
That's great.
Then, yeah, I'll just be asking you a few questions about your profession.
Sure.
So whenever we're ready to all begin, that's fine.
Yep. Absolutely. Ready for you.
So the first thing I wanted to ask is, I know that like your profession is a detective within computer crimes. Is there a specific like technical term, I guess, that I would say that you would be called?
So my specific position is detective sergeant with the computer crimes unit. And there's lots of different hats we wear in terms of this high technology related field that we're in terms of law enforcement. And sometimes, we're referred to as forensic examiners, high-tech investigators, but generally speaking, we're all detectives. And sometimes within our unit, as well as other digital forensic laboratories, we'll also have civilian forensic examiners or non-sworn, meaning they don't carry any weapons or firearms, and they assist us essentially with the same thing. But there's a couple of different ways that high-tech crimes has been broken down over the years. So I've been, doing this for quite some time now, and when it initially started, the role as far as the unit goes, and as far as the positions and the titles and stuff, it was just generally detective, high-tech crimes detective. But then that's kind of moved over to two components. There's the investigation side, and then there's the digital forensic side. So there's high-tech investigations, right, which generally comprise of detectives and analysts that help us track and look up information online and things like that. And then there's digital forensic examiners, which comprise of detectives and civilian personnel. So my role is the supervisor within this unit, and we have a total of 5 detectives and 1 analyst, forensic examiner. Some of the detectives wear 2 hats, where they're also a forensic examiner and a detective investigator. And then we have close to 7 other detectives from local municipalities that help us mostly with investigations. It's kind of like a task force. So, long-winded answer to your question.
No, that was very much appreciated. So what would you say are your day-to-day main responsibilities as the supervisor?
So the day-to-day responsibilities, I would say, is to help make sure that everyone in the unit has what they need in terms of their digital investigations and or forensic examinations. Also, another responsibility that I forgot to mention in terms of our unit is that we also not only handle our own investigations, like whether it deals with, online exploitation of kids or hacking or network intrusion or credit card theft, stuff like that. But we also help our other units like major crimes, financial crimes, narcotics, gangs, with their investigations if they come across a high-tech component. And these days, it's pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
To help other law enforcement agencies or other Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office units to help them with, let's say, I don't know, let's say there was some kind of a, homicide or something, and they ended up, grabbing the phone from the suspect and then grabbing the phone from the victim. And now they have these devices, and now they need the expertise and people with that expertise on knowing how to use software and hardware to forensically extract the evidence in a forensically safe manner, right? So we'll get those requests in, and then I'll see, I'll do like an initial triage, determining priorities. And then also from there, I would then determine like what exactly is needed as far as that, particular, computer or phone evidence or high-tech evidence. And then from there, I'll give it to the detective or examiner that's, best equipped through their training and experience-wise to handle that particular case.
Okay. So I guess you could either break it down between like the two examiners and whatnot, or between like how you got to your position as a supervisor specifically. But what was the prior experience and like on the like field work and educational side that was necessary for you to get there?
So I, just a little background on me. I'd always been interested in technology. And ever since I was little, I remember a time when I was like taking apart everything. And it's, you guys are familiar with Xboxes and what are some of the other ones? Xbox, PlayStation, stuff like that. Well, back in my day, there was something called Atari, right? And I spilled milk on it. And I was like, oh man. So I took it apart and I rinsed it underwater thinking that was going to help. But that was kind of like my first experience into like taking stuff apart. And then, it's just kind of like anything else. You start to do it more. And I just had a natural gravitation towards taking things apart and trying to understand stuff. So I know by the time when I was around your age, I knew I wanted to study technology in college, but also there was a huge drive for me, growing up to want to be in law enforcement. So, and there's been like a few things in my, past and history where law enforcement had made a very significant impression on me. So, me wanting to help people and stuff like that, but also enjoying technology, I kind of thought to myself, maybe, I can do something with technology and law enforcement, so the way I figured it is that I would try to study criminal justice and computer science, So I ended up double majoring in criminal justice, computer science, and minoring in Spanish. Although my Spanish has fallen to the wayside. If you don't use it, you lose it, kind of a thing. But yeah. So I ended up doing that, and I was also applying to different police departments at the time, and an opportunity had come up to actually get hired with a police department. So I ended up going with that police department and putting my education on the side, because there was also a thing with, like, the school was very expensive and stuff like that. So I figured it might be a good thing to work full time, and then go to school part time. So my junior year is when I got hired full time as a police officer with the South Brunswick Township Police Department. And then from there, what I ended up doing was going to school part time to Rutgers, and majoring in criminal justice and computer science, and essentially, trying to think, it was tough, but I'm glad I made the decisions that I did, and I stuck with it, because there were just so many opportunities that opened up afterwards with that. And because of all my help with the police department and with the computer stuff there, and the experience and the education that I was gaining, my chief at the time had asked me if I wanted to apply to the FBI's Regional Computer Forensic Laboratory program, right? And they're based out of Hamilton. And the NJRCFL is a task force. It's an FBI task force comprising of the FBI agents and examiners, state and county and local law enforcement agencies. So there's state police in there, Division of Criminal Justice, several prosecutors' offices, and different police departments that all get together. And the exchanges, these respective agencies would, give a person to the task force, and in turn, the FBI would train them under the FBI standard computer analysis response team certification and protocol, to have everyone trained using their resources, and then to help everyone else with our cases. And also this trained personnel would then help out with FBI cases. One of the things that I kind of kept in the back of my mind during all of this was I was always coming across a couple of decisions, right? And it was whether or not, I was going to do one thing or the other thing. And when it comes to technology, there's a lot, technology, physics, anything, STEAM related. It's all very similar, and it kind of all hangs around in that very similar area. And there's a lot of math and studying involved, and science. And at some points, like when I had to take, I had a very weak math background, I didn't get serious about school until my senior year, but it's one of those things where I realized it was important, and I really, gave it 100%. And so I was kind of starting from scratch all over again. So in terms of the math and going through, Calc 1, Calc 2, pre-calc, all trigonometry, all those things, and Calc 3. And it was there were some points that, I had to think, am I going to go with the easier route or the harder route? And it's usually the right answer for me was always going the harder route, and even though it was tougher, I could see all of the good things that came out of making the choice of choosing the harder route, So, yeah.
Wow, that is so impressive. I can tell that, like, I guess, like, your journey, you'd say, to getting here, it sounds like a very unique one. At least to me, I, like, don't know anything about it. So would you say that maybe, like, police officer entry level, or even simply the majors you did, would you say those are common variations you notice within people under you?
So, quite honestly, there's a lot of on-the-job training, because historically, a lot of my colleagues in law enforcement, they had like criminal justice degrees, administration of justice, or maybe some other non-technical degree, and there's a lot of on-the-job training that goes hand in hand with that. And then we also utilize third-party vendors like commercial trainers to train for those kinds of things too. So you don't necessarily have to have a degree in computer science or electrical engineering or anything, although it would definitely help. And I think moving forward into the future, just like anything else, the more something is around, right, and the more society and our current times accepts certain ideas, as things go along, they just become more refined because of the more difficult challenges and everything. So there's just more expectations, for the lack of a better description. There's more expectations. So it's a good time to be in, but I think more than ever, the world needs science, technology, engineering and math majors, because they're going to save the world, and essentially, not only from that front, but from every front in terms of law enforcement, I know for a fact that technology has really helped law enforcement, not just from the perspective of my perspective of doing like high-tech crimes, but like things like that help law enforcement manage technology, or technology helping them manage our responsibilities, like, even from a patrol level, from a car out on the street, in a patrol car, from the patrol officer having access to so many databases, having access to, tests that allow, certain alcohol consumption measurements to happen, or drug-related tests, to automated license plate readers, to like different types of algorithms that are out there that help us, from a criminology perspective, understand crime trends and where they're going and what we need to do and stuff like that. Like, we've all seen the power of artificial intelligence and what it can do in terms of deep fakes and stuff like that. We've all seen that, right? The new one being Tom Cruise, it totally looks like him, and that's pretty amazing. So technology is going to save our society, I believe, and it's exponentially increasing in terms of the advancement so fast. And not only from the perspective of using the technology in law enforcement is it making us better, but also in terms of the complexity.
And last but not least, you've given tons of words of wisdom today, but I just wanted to ask, what would you say is your biggest piece of advice towards people looking to do what you do?
The quote that resonates with me the most is that life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And I would say that all of the opportunities that I've had in my career and in my life have really gone hand in hand with that. It really became down to the fact that, I was uncomfortable about like learning something, or I had some self-doubts, like I was telling you before, like, my math was weak, but I knew I needed my math up, So I was like, you know what? Let me rechannel this, and positive affirmation. I knew that hard work was gonna get me somewhere, and life beginning at your comfort zone is absolutely the truth. It's not until you have that difficult interaction is your mind going to actually transcend and go to the next level, right? And in hindsight, I would say that it's through all those experiences that I've been able to figure out lots of difficult technology related scenarios and also make good life choices, in terms of this technology career. And I think the way STEAM is set up, like in general right now, like you have all this information everywhere, right? And like I was saying, it's all relying upon the motivation of the individual, right? Like that individual needs to get out of their comfort zone and push the envelope of their learning, even though it may be uncomfortable, whether it's, because everything in terms of science, technology, engineering, and math, it's beautiful, but in order to get that, in order to be impressed upon its beauty, you need to be able to embrace it, and you need to be able to go through the tough times of learning some of those things,
Well, I just want to thank you myself and on behalf of the youth club for once again giving your time to answer these questions today. I think everyone is very much going to appreciate what you had to say. And I think it was very insightful, even if someone isn't looking to go into like the criminal justice side of things or even technology. Like, I know a lot of the things that you did say today, people can still take with them. So I want to thank you for that.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
And thank you for everything that you and your department does as well.
Oh, very welcome. And thank you for having me. I love these types of things, because again, you got to get us off this planet and get to Mars,
Women's History Month. The Central Jersey Club holds many programs. We hope that they will bring our program back to their homes. I'm Peola Smith, and I'm a past national president of the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women's Clubs Incorporated. But locally, I'm a member of the Central Jersey Club. And the National Association was founded in 1935 by some very courageous women from the New York area. And they started this wonderful organization at a time when you wouldn't think women were able to do such a thing.
My name is Tanisha Jones. I'm the first vice president of the Central Jersey Club of the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women's Club Incorporated. Women's History Month is an observance that our organization, the Central Jersey Club, we participate in every year in March as part of one of our national programs. And it's a time for us to honor women who were instrumental in particular causes that we want our community to be aware of. We work with the youth in a number of different ways. And what we do is we help them build the leadership skills needed to be strong leaders of the future. So they do a lot of community service work, activism. They have some special areas of focus on STEM and safe encounters, which is making sure that they know how to interact with the police.
Now, my local club, the Central Jersey Club, was founded by Marguerite White, a woman from Eatontown, New Jersey, and she met with several other women and formed the Central Jersey Club, and we were chartered in 1965. They wanted to bring young people along with them to better their lives.
We're going into the third year of our marine and environmental science program. We're doing field trips and some hands-on science experiments. And the goal of that program was to expose minority students to a topic that a lot of minorities and females tend to shy away from. The overall goal of the STEAM initiative was to bring more science opportunities to the youth of our communities before they reach high school. If anything, we're going to have more and more careers and not enough people to fill those careers. And so we want to make sure that kids of our community are prepared for those jobs.
Because we are a women's organization, we work throughout the year in spreading our message of personal development, women's development, community development. And that's what we're all about.
There's no better way to do an interview with a doctor than while she's a doctor. This is amazing.
Yes, I'm still working.
Oh. So we have Amir here. Amir, you have Dr. Randall.
How you doing, Dr. Randall?
Hi, Amir. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm fine. Just been a long day.
Since you were at work, start off like, what did you do today while you were working? How was your day today?
How was my day today? My day started at 6:30 this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at work. I was at work by 6. My day actually started at 4. I usually wake up and exercise. But yeah, my day started at like 6:30. Today we did a lot of urology type cases. So we did some, a little bit of everything actually. We do lithotripsies. You know what a lithotripsy is?
No, I do not.
Those are people who have, some people make kidney stones. Kidney stones block the ureter, prevents them from coming, causes block. So what we do, we bring in a machine twice a month to break up the stones for the people. So we've done about 16 of those today.
Mm-hmm.
We're on our last
That's
one
a
now.
lot.
Yeah, we did 16 of those. Then today we also did colonoscopies. We have a surgeon, a colorectal surgeon, who comes and does colonoscopies. So we did a bunch of colonoscopies, and we did a couple of cystoscopies and some prostate biopsies. So pretty much.
Busy day.
Yes. Yes, I had a busy day. Plus, I mean, those are the patients that we see, but in order to make sure patients are okay for surgery, to come here for surgery, we review their charts. So there's like usually a stack of charts that look like this. And so we have to review them, make sure they have all their lab work, and make sure they're a good candidate, because I work at a ambulatory surgery center.
Mm-hmm.
That's different from working in the hospital, because in the hospital you have a lot of backup. There's a lot of duplication of systems and a lot of backup, but we're a freestanding surgery center, so we're kind of self-contained. So if there was an emergency or something like that, we have to then, sort of package them up and send them to the hospital, which takes time. So we like to make sure that the patients are stable enough to have surgery here, so they can go from here to home, which is what the plan is. They come from their house and then they go back to their house, sort of. So it's an ambulatory surgery center.
Okay.
Any other things?
Growing up, what did you want to be if you didn't already know what you wanted to be?
Growing up, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. I thought I was going to be a pediatrician, to be honest with you. When I was younger, I used to have a medical disorder called epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, you have seizures, and I had them since the age of about 3 till I was about 16. And I just kind of eventually grew out of it. I didn't have seizures anymore. But going to the doctor all the time, because I would have to go get my medicine adjusted, or I would have a seizure and I'd be in a hospital all the time. It was an interesting career. I was like, I like this, doctoring, but I didn't like the wait, because I used to go to the clinic, because we were, poor living in the Bronx. So we used to go to the clinic and it used to wait. It was a whole day affair. And I was just like, I don't want to do this. I want to, have people be able to come, get the care and like leave, and not like wait for hours at the doctor's, wait for whatever doctor. And I would see a different doctor all the time. So it was like, he had to go through the chart, and I think that's the problem with sort of medicine, the way it used to be, with the clinics and stuff like that. They've changed a lot now, so it's really not like that as much. You pretty much, always see the same doctor now. But so I really wanted to fix the healthcare system when I was younger by being a doctor. Then I eventually got to medical school and realized I really hated pediatrics. And that was kind of a problem for me. Because I'm like, okay, now that I'm not going to do pediatrics, like, what am I going to do? And so during the third year of medical school, you kind of rotate through the different specialties. Mm-hmm. So of course I started out in pediatrics. I didn't like pediatrics. From there I went to medicine. That's when you do internal medicine. And I didn't like really that model either. So then we did surgery. Surgery was kind of interesting. But when I did surgery, I was more interested in the anesthesia part. Like you put this person to sleep and they're not feeling anything. You're cutting this person open and they're okay. So I thought that was fascinating. I was like, I could do that. So then I did 2 weeks of anesthesia. It made my heart sore. I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. It really did. It's like, you get that feeling of like euphoria when you do something. You're like, this is what I want to do. And from then on, I think that's been anesthesiologist.
So what is an anesthesiologist and how long have you been one?
An anesthesiologist is someone who makes a couple of jobs. The first one is you make sure the patient, like I said, is stable for surgery. I've been an anesthesiologist since 1996. Mm-hmm. As when I finished residency and took my boards and stuff like that. So since 1996. So that's a lot of math. That's like 25 years.
I happen to be bad at math. I can't do math. I'm so bad at math.
So for 25 years I've been doing anesthesia. Yeah.
If you could recommend any like classes to high school students or even college students, what would they be like? What did you take?
I'm very untraditional in the sense that it was more important to me to be well-rounded, because a couple of people who like, sciences, so that's all they do is like science and math. I like to be well-rounded. I actually studied anthropology in college. That was my major. I mean, I took all the regular science classes. I took biochem, I took organic chemistry. I took all of those classes, but my major was anthropology. Mm-hmm. Because that's what I was interested in at the time. So that's what I decided to study. Because as I said, I wanted to be well-rounded. I do recommend, I did take other classes that I took, upper level biology classes. I took upper level chemistry classes. Like I said, I took biochemistry. I kind of thought it was more important to also show an interest in medicine. So I spent my summers, not really volunteering. I got summer jobs in labs. I did, I remember one summer I worked with pigeons and rats doing, not really sleep studies, but I mean, a lot of people now know about seasonal affective disorder. That's sort of when you are, you get sad because they call it the winter blues and stuff like that. I was the research assistant on that whole project, like when it first started, when that whole concept first started back when I was in medical school. Actually, I was in college. So I spent the summer doing that, exposing pigeons to different hours of daylight and nightlight and, making the light box and all that stuff. So it's more important. I mean, classes are important, but it's more important to, I think, really demonstrate your interest in other ways, because everybody takes classes and not everybody is, not everybody's book smart, but they want to, do medicine. So if you can show that you're really interested, and you get those people to write you, recommendations, I think that also, goes a long way. So I also volunteer in the ER at my, local hospital when I was in college. So you got to see a lot of things there. You got to, meet a lot of doctors. So it's, I think a lot of this world is who you know. It's my personal, so if you make the right connections, you get to where you want to go. I mean, classes are important and good grades are important, but it's not everything.
So how has COVID-19 affected your job and your workplace environment?
When COVID-19 hit, since I work in an ambulatory surgery center, we were closed. They did not allow any elective surgeries. So for about 6 weeks, I was relatively unemployed. I mean, I could go. I mean, there were other options where I could volunteer and stuff like that, but they kept saying that they were going to open the surgery center. So if I took another job, I wouldn't be able to go back to my regular job, and because I'd be exposed to COVID, I'd have to wait 2 weeks, this, that, and the other. So it hit my pocketbook pretty badly. But besides that, it's changed the way we practice medicine. Now everybody gets a COVID test. If your COVID test doesn't come back, we don't do your case. Or if you test positive, we don't do the case. Now that people are recovering from COVID, they found that there are long-term effects for people who have like severe COVID. I mean, because some people get COVID and they just get like loss of taste and very mild. But the people who get, the severe COVID, or what they call the long haulers, they don't do as well for surgery. And as I said, most of what we do here is elective. So we have them wait almost 3 months to have surgery. So it's kind of decreased the numbers, and made people very afraid of the healthcare system and coming to get care, because they don't want to catch COVID. They don't want to leave the house, or, but we're almost back up to full capacity now. People, I think, have gotten over that part, and they're kind of almost up to full capacity now.
So who or what motivates you to get up and go to work every day? What's your driving?
I love what I do. I love what I do. I really do. I like the people I work with. I'm part of a private anesthesia group. There are 5 anesthesiologists and 5 nurse anesthetists. And I like what I do. I like the people I work with. I've just been, the center that I'm currently at, where I'm sitting at work, I'm the director of anesthesia, recently appointed. I make policy, I make change. I really like what I do, so that's what, gets me up in the morning, So.
Do you have any advice for people, do you think, who want to study medicine or even become an anesthesiologist?
Advice. It's a lot of work, and I think you really need to really want to do it, because being where I am now, in this day and age, I think there are I wouldn't go into medicine for the money, let's just say that. Because I think there are easier ways to make money. I think there are easier ways and just as fulfilling ways to make money, because medicine has been hit really hard when it comes to money. There's a whole, the Anesthesia Association is currently lobbying Congress because they cut the Medicare reimbursements for anesthesia a third. And it's just well, if you cut the reimbursements, then you cut the salaries, then you cut, and it just like, there's a real big trickle down effect. So I think there's a real big push, you know, in the United States to decrease healthcare costs at any cost possible. So, as I said, I think there are other ways. So you have to really love medicine. You have to really want to help people.
Would like want us to know about your career or about anything?
It's a good career. It's very, what I like about it is very cooperative. It's not, you know, I don't work in isolation. You know, if I'm doing it, like sometimes, you know, I'll be reviewing charts, but someone else will have to come and do the case. So you've got to really make sure that, you know, that everybody's kind of on the same page and everybody understands what's, you know, what's going on. And there are always people to bounce ideas off of, you know, like another colleague texted me today, she had a patient, you know, has certain characteristics. She's like, do you think we should do the patient? Do you think, you know, what test would you ask for? This, that, and the other. So it's very, I mean, it's nice to say I know it all, but you know, I'm like, we really don't know it all. And it's good to have someone else there to, you know, bounce ideas off of and stuff. So it's a very cooperative career. You know, you don't sort of work in isolation, you know. And so that's one of the things I really liked about anesthesia. The other thing is that the people who go into anesthesia tend to be really nice and care about other people. I mean, it was the only career, like, as I said, during medical school, we do all these rotations. It was the only rotation where someone came in and asked if you needed a break. It's like, do you want a break? You want to go get some coffee? Oh, do you need to go to the bathroom? And I'm like, what? Like, in none of my other rotations, and they asked, nobody cared how I was doing. You know, but they realize that if you're feeling better, then you can focus and take care of the patient better. And that was one of the things I really, you know, liked about the career, you know. So I think anesthesia is a great career. It's one of the few areas where you get to use everything you've learned in medical school. I use the pharmacology, I use the anatomy, I use everything I've learned in medical school. I guess the other thing I really like about it is the immediacy of it. You know, like, I give a drug and I see the effect. I don't have to wait. I don't have to say, go take this blood pressure medicine and come back in 2 weeks. You know, I give medicine, I see the effect. It's very satisfying, very, you know, immediately, you know, satisfying to, you know, see the effects of what you do, you know. And patients wake up and they thank you. Nobody ever thanks anybody else. You know, patient will wake up, they're like, oh, thank you, that was a great anesthetic. They're like, I don't feel any pain. They're like, thank you. And I'm like, so it's satisfying. That's what gets me up in the morning, because it's a really satisfying career.
We are training a youth group how to take water quality measurements in lakes. We're at Fletcher Lake right now. It's really important just to get the community involved, A, because they know more about the lakes like around them than we can possibly know, but B, just to get people to care about these kind of issues.
So we actually have a STEAM-based program, and we got involved from Tom Harrington, who heard about our program and thought this would be something good that we could work on with the kids. So we connected with Jason and Aaron on the project, and we tried to find a lake that was in the area in which we serve the youth in the community, the Central Jersey Club. And so we connected here on Fletcher Lake, which isn't too far from where we live. And we decided that this would be a great opportunity for them to work on some STEAM initiatives with Monmouth University.
One day of sampling, but the second depth, which is a key indicator of lake trophic status, was on the lower end of the scale of what we see in Monmouth County's coastal lakes, about a foot. I'd like to do this for years and years and years. That's how ecology works. You learn stuff the longer you observe a system. So in the meantime, we'll take it a year, 2 years, 5 years at a time.
My name is Tanya Archer-Buckley, and I'm the president of the Central Jersey Club, and it's nice to meet you.
Likewise. Good afternoon.
Thank you. So to begin, first I'd like to ask, what is your exact title for your profession?
I am currently a detective with the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office.
And how did you become interested in this field?
The field of forensics. I'm currently assigned to the Forensics Bureau, which encompasses crime scene investigation. And that all started with my formal training in crime scene investigation back in 2001. I've been in law enforcement since the year 2000, so I'm well into my 20th year. Prior to that, I've had some experience as a civilian working with a couple of law enforcement agencies, both as a paid employee and also interning as well, which I find highly valuable just to gain the experience. But to answer your question, forensics was always an interest of mine. But now rewind the clock a little bit back in 2000, you never had crime scene shows like Crime Scene Investigation, The First 48, things like that. So forensics was kind of like a new realm to participate in with regard to law enforcement. So I'm always I've always been the type, and I currently still am, that accepts challenges. So when I was approached with the opportunity with my first law enforcement agency to attend a crime scene investigation course after my initial academy training, I jumped on the opportunity, and that's when I really felt the true urge or desire to pursue more of a concentration in crime scene investigation with regard to my law enforcement experiences.
Thank you. So what would you describe as your day-to-day responsibilities?
Well, in the crime scene unit with this office, and even with my previous employers, I've transferred from two other county prosecutors' offices as a sworn investigator or detective. In both, I participated in crime scene investigation. And the way the prosecutor's office works is that any major crime within the county that you're employed in, for example, like a shooting incident or bank robbery, things like that, the crime scene investigation unit will take over that investigation with regard to processing the crime scene, which we can discuss in more detail if you wish, what's involved with that. But primarily evidence collection, documenting the scene, whether it's taking photographs, video, or 3D scanning, which is something new. So that's our day-to-day duties, in addition to other duties that we conduct back in our offices as well, such as evidence processing for local agencies, fingerprint comparisons, courtroom testimony for major cases that we are involved in. So that's pretty much our day-to-day duties in the crime scene investigation unit within our office.
What is your favorite and least favorite thing about your
job? Favorite thing is I like to educate. I like to help people. I've been like that my entire life. So anything that I can do to go above and beyond to help somebody makes me feel like I've accomplished something in my day-to-day activity. So again, which that is another thing that I realized that I enjoyed most about crime scene investigation, because a lot of people do not realize, other than just watching TV, how important a crime scene is with regard to evidence preservation. If you do not properly document a crime scene, in essence, you can possibly lose valuable evidence that can help solve a case. So what I like most about my job is the fact of that challenging day-to-day experiences of venturing out to different types of crime scenes, whether it's something like a burglary or is something more horrific, which you can possibly imagine. It's always a challenge. So that is my day-to-day joy in going to work. Something that I do not like. There is a lot of time where I'm away from my family. We are on call a lot, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, holidays, things like that. So have I missed certain family events? I'm a big family person. I'm big into sports with my children. I've missed a lot of games. I've missed a lot of birthday parties. So that's something that's probably the least favorite about my job. But then again, the benefits of helping people and accomplishing something, my head on the pillow, knowing that I helped somebody or helped a family, that kind of makes up for it. So
that kind of leads into my next question, which was how well are you able to maintain like a work to life balance as a detective?
Maintaining that is extremely important. You have to find a way to kind of disconnect, leave work at work, and try to concentrate on your family. So it's not that difficult. And again, I've been doing this over 20 years now, or at 20 years about. I've kind of located that balance, I think, pretty well. So there's got to be at that point in time where you have to just shut off work and concentrate on family, because if your family life is not going well, you do not want that to trickle into work, because you have to concentrate, especially in a unit like ours. You cannot be distracted because, again, you're handling very potentially valuable evidence and fragile evidence that can be damaged very quickly. So I think I handle it pretty well.
If you could do it all over again, would you? And if not, what would you change?
I would absolutely do this all over again. I love my job. I love what I do. I love the unit that I work in. What would I change? Maybe getting into it sooner. I don't know. I went into the academy pretty young, but I know people that have gone into the academy a little sooner than I have. But I was that child in college or in high school, still debating on what I was going to do. My degree wasn't my degree that I have now, or degrees that I have now weren't my first choices, but that's normal. Not much. I don't think there's much I would change, other than maybe making a decision a little sooner. But I think I'm still went to the academy pretty young, so not that far off.
And then my last question is, what advice would you give to somebody who's interested in going into the same field?
If you can, when I teach other students, I always say you have to try to make an effort to possibly intern as much as possible, volunteer your time. I did that a lot when I was in freshman in high school. Unfortunately, the freshman in college, I should say. Unfortunately, in high school, I didn't have the opportunity to intern. My school didn't really promote that during the high school years. But once I entered into college as a freshman, sophomore, internships were big. And I have to say the internships that I took part in greatly assisted me with making connections, and not so much of the people that I met, but just connections in terms of looking what else is out there. I started my college career, I was focused on political science at one point. Then I went into public administration and then ultimately criminal justice. And a lot of things have changed. So once you start interning and you get an experience of what an agency is like and what their focus is in terms of day-to-day activities, I think that kind of helps you as you pursue your college.
Hello, the Central Jersey Youth Club presents our STEAM Fair engineering project using Raspberry Pi. Part of the Central Jersey Youth Club programming is in the area of STEM. Because minority representation is lacking in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math, the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women's Club Incorporated is dedicated to providing awareness and to help close the gap. So, what is Raspberry Pi? Raspberry Pi, or RPi for short, is a credit card-sized computer. Although small, when plugged into a monitor, it enables one to learn computing and to explore programming. The initial RPi project was launched to aid teachers in teaching basic computer skills and computer science. Now, the device does not come assembled, but the construction is not very complicated. Step-by-step instructions come in the package to follow. After unboxing everything, you'll be ready to begin. First, put the logic board onto the black box. Next, place the fan into the box and place the red and black wires onto the correct pin. Afterwards, plug the power source into the box as well as a keyboard and a mouse. After assembling, connect the HDMI wire from the desktop to a TV. Then download the latest software and connect it to a desktop and connect it to Wi-Fi. Well, what's next? Lots of things, actually. There are numerous projects that can be achieved using Raspberry Pi, but coming soon to our next STEAM fair, a home security system, controlling LED lights, and a photo booth. I'll leave you in anticipation until our next STEAM fair. This is CJYC's first Vice President, Jordan Lucas. Take care until next time. Thank you.
The Central Jersey Youth Club would like to thank you for viewing our STEAM Fair program. We hope that you enjoyed our event and we look forward to enlightening you in our next affair. Thank you so much for your support.